everyone, and welcome to
Bowser
Best
Jr.?
of Six. I'm your host, Jake. Joining me, as always, is Dan, Julian, Lerone, Mitch, and not the sixth guy, Mauricio. Okay.
Rip Charles.
Press F.
Press
In the
F.
chat from Mauricio.
Press F on the world's
Press
smallest
Lerone, your
keyboard.
icon looks weird on my screen.
Oh yeah.
You didn't change it.
Yeah, it looks kind of funny.
Yeah, let me change mine real quick.
Oh, hey, the Discord icons are actually showing up today. That's weird. They haven't shown up in weeks. Software, man. So,
It's me.
we got a jam-packed show for you guys today. Dan has lots and lots to talk about. He's a literal expert on these things. So, hope you guys have it. Look forward to that. As a reminder, this week is a Smash week. We'll keep the topic a surprise, though. Keep you on the edge of your seats. Diving right in.
Well, I like tweeted about the topic. no one follows me at Twitter.
Yeah, you know what? You know what? If you want to see it, follow DJ Knight on Twitter, DJ Knight31 on Twitter, and you can get the latest leaks from the Best of Six podcast.
From the
I don't think he's actually a DJ.
Yeah, higher up told me that SpongeBob's going to be in Smash Ultimate.
Oh man. So
Higher up told me Goku's gonna be.
if you want more leaks like that, just follow DJ Knight31. He'll tell you. He'll give you the latest scoop. Speaking of latest scoop, the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis Mini launches in September with 40 games.
Yeah, this might not suck. It actually has good games like Sonic the Hedgehog and Castlevania Bloodlines.
Yeah. Why would you think it would suck?
Because Sony's suck. The PlayStation Classic was, I have to censor myself, sucked major chickens.
Wow. That's
Chicken.
harsh words. By the way, if you do follow DJ Net on Twitter, tweet's inaccurate. That's not what I'm talking about tonight.
You're not talking. What? Did you change it?
I
Changed
changed
talking
it.
about the disadvantage state, right?
It in the chat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoops.
But does the Genesis Classic have Rise stuff?
No, but it has Gunstar Heroes.
Then who cares?
Were you gonna buy it for Rystar?
I mean, I already have a Genesis cartridge. I don't need
Yeah, but that doesn't plug into HDMI.
it. Eh?
So,
Yeah, the Japanese and US versions are going to have different games.
oh yeah.
Oh.
What the heck? The Japanese version will have Puyo Puyo Su.
Oh boy.
I don't
What
know.
is Rent-A-Hero?
I don't
Wait,
know what
Sounds-
Rent-A-Hero is.
Japan
Sounds like we're
gets
not missing much.
Japan gets Sonic the Hedgehog 2?
Wait, yeah, that's
Wow.
weird.
What?
Sonic the Hedgehog 1 in the US version and no Hedgehog 2. And in Japan, only Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and not Sonic the Hedgehog 1. That makes no sense.
What? Why do they get the better game? What? Read.
Indeed.
The game
So
was
the
probably
Japanese
too
version is straight
difficult
up
for the
better.
American audience.
Say that one more time.
The game was probably considered too difficult for the American audience.
Wait,
That's
it only supports 720p? Come on.
oh.
Why?
Oh, look at me. Oh, I moved past 2014. Oh.
So all the NES Classic and SNES Classic do 1080p.
Oh,
Stepping
look
up.
at me. I want to be competitive with Nintendo. Oh.
This thing costs $80.
Look at me. I'm asking for a reasonable... Wow, that is really bad, actually.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, wait, 80?
80.
Well, no, there's two different.
No, wait. Oh no, there's two ones. If you want
Yeah.
if you want one that comes with one controller, $60. Two controllers, $80.
Isn't the SNES Classic 60 or something?
Yeah, it's 60. But it comes with two controllers,
Oh.
and it does 1080p. And I'm pretty sure it has the same number of games. So, Sega Mega Drive sucks. Anyway,
Also, to close this, it's gonna come with 40 games, and they just listed a few. So Rystar might
yeah,
be on this.
might be on. Yeah, they only listed 10 out of.
What about Sonic 2, 3, and no?
That might happen. Maybe that's why it seems weird. Maybe
Yeah.
Sonic 1 and 2 is on both consoles.
What about Mother 3?
That
That would be interesting. That would be the most interesting thing I could see making it onto this console.
I'd actually fly to Nintendo of America and have a strong talking to Doug Bowser.
You go in there and you talk to them. You say, "Thank you for finding Reggie," because now this can happen.
There you go, Dan. Rico showed up. She still exists.
I was just about to type in chat. I did type in chat saying hi, but I was about to type in chat about how, Aaron, I haven't seen you in like a really, really long time.
Okay,
I
so
got sad.
going into the main news story of the week. How BioWare's Anthem went wrong is an editorial
God.
piece written by Kotaku.
Reddit. Roasted.
Yeah, so this is a pretty long article. I'm going to leave it to Julian to go ahead and give a quick summary as I quickly scroll through this wall of text.
Yeah, I didn't have time to read it all, but
Oh,
basically,
wait.
Wait, it sounds like Dan did
I
read
read
it.
it all.
oh, go ahead.
Oh my
Alright, Dan.
god. I mean, I'm actually okay. So
Holy crap, this is so long.
Yeah, it's really long.
it's really long. I read it while I was pooping at work. In case you needed to know that, you all clearly.
While you were
needed to know that.
e-sporting at work.
While I was e-sporting at work, I guess.
Sorry, e-sporting.
No, that's gross. Stop. Anyway, yeah, I read the article. Basically, BioWare. There was like a lot of it. Like, obviously it's a huge article. There's a lot of content in there, and like, basically working for BioWare / EA sucks. Like, I think we all knew that working for EA probably wasn't great. This just confirms it.
Yeah.
And, like, the engine that they're funny. They were like, so it has all of like working with an established engine, because it's not an established engine, it's an in-house engine. So it doesn't have any of the documentation. But it was also made by a team in France. So it's not like, not only are you lacking documentation, but it's not like you can go down the hallway and ask the guy who wrote the engine, hey, why is this like this? Like, it's literally written by a team who works in another language world, and like, it's kind of ridiculous. I thought that was the funniest part of the article for me, was them describing Frostbite, which is the engine they used to make the game, or all their games, and just like,
That sounds pretty miserable. Just throwing out my 2 cents there.
they just constantly change the vision.
The game was originally titled Beyond, but then at the last second they changed it to Anthem because they weren't sure they would get the rights to the name Beyond. Like,
Yeah.
they had T-shirts made and everything.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
There's a lot more. Like, a lot of the team. I think, did they get the Dragon Age team like
They got the
initially in
Dragon Age-
development? Yeah, go
not
ahead.
during initial development. They got the Dragon Age team, like, after Inquisition came out. Most of the Dragon Age team joined, or was it Inquisition? I don't know.
It was Inquisition.
Yeah, it was Inquisition, and like, if Dragon Age Inquisition like was a bad game, then being a BioWare employee probably would have been a lot easier. But basically, Dragon Age Inquisition had the same like crunch time towards the end as Andromeda, as what's it called?
Mass Effect Andromeda.
Mass Effect Andromeda, and as Anthem. Like, they both had this development cycle where like they didn't know what was going on until the very end. And then it was
EA
crunch
Magic.
time.
I think that's what they. Like,
Yeah, they
called it.
called it EA Magic. And
Yeah.
basically, if Dragon Age Inquisition like had been a flop, then this work culture of like EA Magic is gonna fix this wouldn't have existed. And it was like, actually, it made it kind of so that Andromeda and Anthem sucked in a weird way.
Yeah, they wanted Inquisition to fail, so they wouldn't. So they could prove to upper management that type of work culture, like, doesn't work. But as it turns out, EA Magic like worked for them in the end, because Dragon Age Inquisition was a huge success for them.
One game of the year.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff like stress casualties were common where like people would take a month or more break due to stress, and there's a chance they would never return.
It was legit medical leave too. Like the doctors ordered them to take month-long vacations due to stress. Like
That's insane.
It was not uncommon for workers to go to unoccupied offices and just cry at work.
Yeah. When they initially showed the demo to the EA CEO, forgot his name. He didn't like it at first, so they had to like do a bunch of last minute changes. So like he would like flying. Yeah.
Yeah, flying was added and removed from the game several times. Apparently.
Yeah, and that was like the main draw of the game. Like a lot of the team, they weren't used to making online games, right? They couldn't really do it with Frostbite.
And Frostbite also, I was gonna say, Frostbite also wasn't used to making online games.
Yeah.
So,
in like a Sean Road fraud, right? Way.
Isn't it just awful?
so a lot of bad stuff here.
You put your heart and soul into this thing, right? And then everyone hates it.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough. CEO saps all the money, shits on their demo.
Yeah. Man, this is a...
Yeah, it's a very lengthy article. They
I think
Similarly,
yeah,
there was
also,
an email sent out throughout BioWare, that said, "Don't talk to the press."
and BioWare also released a response apparently within
They did.
like a few hours of the article being posted.
Yep, and I'll bring that up now.
And
It's weak.
it's weak. They're basically like, I don't like when other articles trash games. I don't think it's productive for the industry. When the point of the article was not to talk about Anthem, but it was to talk about toxic work culture and BioWare.
Which is very good for the industry, discussing these problems.
yeah.
So BioWare
Not good for
intentionally
them. Come on, Mitch.
BioWare intentionally missed the point to try and change the focus of the article when that wasn't what the focus of the article was. Which, you know, it's typical like narrative being pushed by corporations. It's like, hey, let's pivot the argument to a different topic that was like not talked about in the article and say why that's a bad thing to talk about.
Yeah, the game didn't it didn't really like come into fruition until like the final year of like development. They started development in like 2014, I think.
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
They showed a teaser trailer of the game in 2014, which, by the way, is nothing like what the final release of the game is. Which isn't that unusual, but, like, it's kind of a good sign of how much of a mess the development of this game was.
Also, like a
In
bunch
development for 5 years.
Usually more development time is better, not worse.
Yeah.
And usually long development time doesn't mean that people are put under so much of a time crunch and stress that they quit. 5 years is a lot of time.
Like also their lead story writer left, right, Dan?
Yeah,
Like,
their lead story writer left, and then the guy who wrote Dragon Age jumped on, and like
Yeah.
a bunch of the original creative leads on, or not creative leads, but like a bunch of the original creative team were like, "You're just turning this into Space Dragon Age. Stop doing that."
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that was the quote. Frostbite is full of razor blades.
That's about the engine that this game was built on.
Yeah.
Full of razor blades. That's like not even an expression. He didn't have an expression to describe what it was like. He made one up.
Well, sounds like you should play this game, Rico. It's Space Dragon Age.
No, the story was briefly like Space Dragon Age.
Briefly like Space Dragon Age, okay.
What's
Which
wrong
the
with that?
creative team was like,
It didn't meet their original vision of the game.
yeah,
They wanted to do something different.
the original vision of the game does sound really cool. Like when they're describing what the game was supposed to be, it sounds awesome, and like you
Very
could
similar
almost
to Destiny.
feel the passion of the creators through the article.
Yeah.
Like, even though these people were trashing the toxic work culture, they originally loved this game, and they wanted Anthem to be a great game. And just like it didn't become a great main game because of mismanagement.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's really rough because, like, from what I hear, the gameplay is actually pretty good. They just keep patching out things that people like.
Yeah, all I've heard I mean, it seems pretty apparent they had a really good, competent team behind the game, and EA was like, yeah, we want something different because we think it's better than EA Magic, and that game sucks.
It's getting mediocre score.
But considering the amount of time and all that, and money put into it, mediocre scores isn't gonna cut it.
So just like to jump back to Frostbite, I just remembered something that they said. Basically, like they could submit a support ticket to like the developers who made the Frost get their questions answered, but EA would budget the Frostbite engine people's times according to like what game was gonna make the most money. So if you weren't working on FIFA, you just like didn't get your questions answered about the engine and had to figure it out on your own.
GG.
EA got all the time they needed because or FIFA got all the time they needed because EA knew that's a cash cow.
Yeah.
Sounds like EA.
Yeah.
Yeah, working for game companies.
Why does FIFA even need time when they figure out the engine? They just released the same game.
On a new on an updated version of the engine, though.
I actually don't know enough about FIFA games to answer that question.
Didn't they like add something in the new FIFA, like a campaign or something?
I mean, I'm
They
sure
like
they
talk
add
about it-
something every time. There's only so much.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
get away with doing literally nothing but update the characters.
I mean, they did for several years in a row not fix a bug, and it was in several of the games.
It's low on the priority queue, you know.
Fantastic.
When you only need 5 people to work on the game. Anyway, let's move on. Borderlands 3 is looking to be a timed exclusive on the Epic Games Store.
Oh,
Yeah, probably a 6-month exclusive. Not much to say about that, but Borderlands 3 fans, sorry.
well, do people really care?
I
Or is it just Steve?
mean, there are definitely people who care, but
There are a lot of
There are people on the internet
Okay.
brigading against Epic for no good reason, and then there are a lot of good reasons that are ignored, like the complete lack of security. Like you didn't have to authorize your email to make an account.
Yeah.
That was kind of
Yeah.
ridiculous.
mm-hmm.
So like,
There were a lot of claims of it being spyware that turned out not to be true. But
talked
people
about
brigade that. Yeah, stuff like that.
So
But this one's multiplayer.
yeah, and
You have to buy it. Or wait.
So yeah, Epic Store exclusive. Get used to it because Epic says they're going to continue to assign exclusives even for games already on Steam. I don't know why this is news. No shit.
Well,
Epic Store is making money, so they will continue to do that.
You think Steve, Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. You think Steam will implement some sort of contract that says, if you sign up for your store, you have to stay?
no.
Steam. I think Steam is trying to remain the quote-unquote good guy and not signing exclusive deals. Because
It doesn't have to be exclusive. It just says if you sign up on your store, you can't back out for this amount of time.
that's the same thing. Oh, unless
they
you're
can
saying
sell-
they can sell on both platforms. That's
Yeah, they can sell on both. They just can't take their thing down after they make a deal.
Yeah, but why would they do that if? But then Epic can still just snag new games. So I don't know if
Yeah,
it would
but,
make that big of an effect.
what Steam doesn't want is for a game to show up in the Steam store, have Steam advertise it, have Steam, set up a bunch of infrastructure to take pre-orders and all this other stuff, and then just have all that canceled. They have to refund everyone. and they still have like the forums up because the game's gonna release eventually. So they do all this support for a game that they're not even selling.
Yeah.
I think they want to avoid that kind of stuff.
But I mean, I'm still okay with this. But
I think
competition's good.
Okay, well,
I agree.
I
I don't like want there to be exclusives, but I think it's necessary for real competition to show up.
That's my opinion on exclusives. Yeah.
Of course, Epic needs to get their shit together because their whole store and software is a hot mess. I mean, Steam is too, but Steam is a little bit less of a hot mess. They've had some time to iron some things out, like security.
Why bother with the product when you can swing your money around?
And that's
Yeah.
Steve's problem. Yeah.
I mean, Epic's
valid
biggest
complaint.
problem, as far as I can tell, is security. I mean, Steam barely functions. So
That
there's
is very
that.
true. That is very
But-
true.
Steam has a lot of bugs. There's a lot of bugs that have been in Steam for the entire time I've used it that have gone unfixed. I mean, we're talking about like, nearly a decade of time where Steam has had these same bugs. So, if forcing Steam to step up their game a bit sounds good to me. And
The thing is, Origin could have done that. The Uplay Store could have done that.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not sure about the Uplay Store, but
and
Origin could have done that.
none of them
No,
thought of
okay.
the idea of,
Why would this make them fix their launcher, though?
Steam.
Yes. The competition is not that this launcher is better, it's that they have exclusive.
Yeah,
Yes.
but all these things kind
And
of
if Steam
factor.
is like, hey, we fixed our infrastructure, there's no more bugs, no one's gonna give you shit.
For now. But if Epic can get a lot of people on their platform and then they build out their platform to make it just like legit nicer to use, then Valve might have to start paying attention. But of course, it's probably gonna be more of a fight for exclusives for a while. Such as life.
that's,
That's
what's gonna happen.
that's the first battle.
Yeah.
Then we'll see what goes from that point forward. Speaking of Valve, Valve's VR headset is called Index, and it is coming soon. So this is kind of exciting. This has sort of been kind of rumored / like gently talked about for a long time. But yeah, this is Valve's own. This is not, by the way, like another HTC Vive where they like worked with Valve. Like this is Valve's very own VR headset.
I wonder how long they'll sell it for before abandoning it to the wild.
Why is this
Sorry,
special?
I meant to say void. I'm sorry.
We don't know why it's special yet because
It probably isn't.
they have not released any specs about it. They kind of accidentally teased it. There was like a teaser for the Valve Index that appeared on Steam. It looks like it was meant to not be posted at that time since Valve didn't even talk about it. They just kind of quietly accidentally put it on there. So May 2019 is the release window, so that's soon. So
How
I'm sure
many-
we'll be hearing more about it soon.
How many products did Steam release that just flopped?
I'm
the
thinking
market.
mostly the Steam box.
The Steam box.
The Steam controller.
The Steam
Yeah, that's what
controller,
I'm
did that flop though?
Did
I don't
it?
know. I just don't hear about it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hear much about it, but I think it still exists. The Steam box is dead. They killed that. I think it was mostly the Steam box. They put a lot of time into that and a lot of money into it, and they killed it.
They were like, let's take the biggest strength of the console and just throw it out.
Yeah. And upgrade your experience is the tagline, which bold words since they they worked with HTC on the Vive, so I guess shots fired at HTC or something. So that'll be interesting. And also, Oculus announced the Rift S this week. Oculus's new VR headset, the sort of successor to the Oculus Rift.
Didn't we talk about this?
We talked about it only very briefly. That was before they announced all the actual details of it, though. Now they've said everything, all the specs, all of that. It's an interesting product. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I could talk about it for a long time. But this is definitely a new direction for the Rift, and the only thing I'm not happy about is that it's replacing the Rift, the current Rift, but it's not a Rift 2. And like, there are some things about the experience that are going to be better, and there's some things about the experience that are going to be worse. And it's about deciding if that trade-off is worth it. But if you're looking to maybe get a Rift, and the Rift S doesn't look super appealing to you, get your Rift now, because they are phasing them out of production now.
How much more expensive is this?
The Rift S is $50 more than the current Rift.
Remember when Steam used to make games? You
Valve,
think Epic will make them start doing that again?
Valve's
already said that they're making new games. In fact,
I mean, like games, not card games.
I mean, Half-Life VR.
Games.
Half-Life VR is basically confirmed.
Gabe Newell said Half-Life 3 might happen in like 5 years.
I don't believe that because they released the whole script online and then said this is never happening.
Maybe they came up with a better script.
Anywho, on topic.
On topic is Dan.
Let's go off topic. We need to invite Charles here. He's really good at this stuff.
Yeah, he is really good at this stuff. So, Charles is really good at Smash Bros. And I'm about to talk about Smash Bros. And why I think I'm not terrible at it.
Alright, Dan, I play real fighting games. I can help.
Okay. So, today,
If you ever get hit, the other person was cheating.
I am going to talk about the advantage and disadvantage states and conditioning. A little bit on conditioning. Mostly advantage and disadvantage. So, as I tend to do with these, I'm going to start off with a few definitions. I don't have like a visual aid, so sorry guys. But this is a podcast. It's supposed to be audio.
Yeah,
Perfect.
audio.
So, like I typically do with these, I'm going to start off with some definitions so that we're all on the same page and we are all talking about the same things. And this is going to be especially important because I'm going to change the definitions of a few words.
Can he do that?
I don't know. I have to consult the rule book in that one.
So, let's
What if
start
he
off
changes
by
the rules in the rule book?
defining-
By changing the words.
Let's start off by defining like what I mean when I say advantage and what I mean by when I say disadvantage. Those are states of the game where one player has a large advantage. Has the ability to, tack on percent much more easily than the other player, basically. So a lot of the time that's due to the position that one player's in and the movement options available to each player, and the buttons that they're allowed to press. And in this context, buttons means like unique actions able to be performed. So like if one player can only do a get up attack, a neutral get up, or a roll, those are very, very limited options. Whereas if the other player can do like any sort of movement or attack that they want, they are clearly in a state of advantage. And that's what I mean when I say that. I'm also going to distinguish between punish and advantage here. And this is where I'm going to change the definition. Like, if you are strictly talking about what punish traditionally means, I'm going to kind of redefine that. So, in practice, punish and advantage are sometimes used interchangeably, like especially if you're listening to commentators talk about Smash. They'll often use punish and advantage kind of interchangeably. And the line between the two is very, very blurred. So I'm going to start off by saying what I consider the traditional definition of punish. It's whatever happens between two neutral sequences. And for the purposes of this discussion, a punish is a state of the game where one player has absolutely no offensive options available and their defensive options are also severely limited. Typically because they're either in hit stun or another state where they can't act for one reason or another. So that's the definition of punish that I'm using. Whereas like traditionally a punish, and that's also punish as a noun, not punish as a verb. Someone whiffs an attack and the other player punishes them. That's punish as a verb. That's a whiff punish. That's something distinct. I'm talking about punish as a state of the game.
So you're kind of distinguishing between Smash and other fighting games, where Smash has DI?
A little bit. And then one last definition before we get started, which is conditioning. And this definition, we're going to talk later about why this definition actually sucks, but this just gives us a good baseline so we're all on the same. Repetitive decision making in order to lull your opponent into a false sense of security during certain interactions. For example, repeatedly covering second place in order to bait out a tech roll during a key moment of the game. So, those are our definitions. And now I want to talk a little bit about why I love advantage and disadvantage states and why I think I'm qualified to talk about this. In my opinion, advantage and disadvantage states are the most mentally demanding states of any game of Smash. When you're in disadvantage, and that puzzle is, how do I return to neutral or get a reversal? And when you're in advantage, you can more easily extend a punish, but if you're overly predictable, then you can get a reversal done on you and end up being punished. Or you could prematurely end a punish that you could have extended, except for the fact that you were predictable. So either way, whether you're in advantage or disadvantage, quick thinking is more heavily rewarded here than at any other stage of the game. And that's what's fun to me, is when I have to think quickly, and when thinking quickly is rewarded, and like I do better in a match because I thought quicker than my opponent. Those are the things I like about Smash. I also think it fits my playstyle, which is demonstrated by the characters I choose to play. Like Jigglypuff can create advantage states where getting a correct read can result in the opponent losing a stock. So like Jigglypuff with advantage is incredible. You figure out when they're going to jump, you just took their stock. Pichu and Bowser Jr. both have projectiles, and I think this is something super interesting that I thought of while thinking of this discussion. A projectile with an active hitbox, when you aren't in N-lag, automatically creates an advantage state for you as the thrower of the projectile. Like you pressed a button, you automatically shifted the game briefly and slightly from neutral to advantage. That's cool that some characters can do that.
Cool. Sorry, carry on.
Maybe cool isn't the right word, but like
Taco.
I like being able to quickly shift the game into a position where
That favors you specifically, gotcha.
where quick decision making is rewarded. Because I want to, in a situation where quick decision making is rewarded, therefore I like to have access to a projectile like that. That can kind of do that. And then I also threw Melee Marth and Ultimate Lucina on the list because I've been messing around with them a little bit. Having access to large hitboxes kind of means you could push advantage states without needing perfect spacing, so they kind of just make the advantage state easier. And both those characters also have access to reversals through their counter. And we'll talk a little bit more about reversals later. But like counters, quick aerials, those are basically just reversals that can turn what is a disadvantage state for you into an advantage state for you. I also personally think that I thrive in advantage more than I thrive in any other part of the game. Like, I think my neutral kind of sucks, and my punish game definitely sucks. So advantage is all that's left, and advantage is what I'm good at. And another reason why I think I'm qualified to talk about this is that I want to. So there's that.
Not a good enough reason.
So now that we've kind of gone over the intro, I want to talk a little bit about the format for the rest of this podcast, or the rest of my topic, is basically going to be like, how do you get better at these portions of the game? I'll ask you guys for feedback about what you guys think about what I have to say, if you can add on to it, or if you have personal anecdotes. Really cool. If not, that's also a-okay. And also, I'm like a mid-level player. I've never been better than a mid-level player. I think I'm at the higher end of mid-level, but I also love myself, and that might just be me over-evaluating my own skill. I was very briefly pretty good at Smash 4. Like, when Smash 4
That
first
is
came
true.
out, no one knew how to play it, and I had played Brawl for more than, like, 5 minutes, so I was automatically one of the best players.
Those were the days, weren't they?
Those were the days.
Like-
Oh my god.
Let's be clear. Like when the game first came out, like Dan and I sucked at Smash 4. Yet, just because we played a Brawl, we could show up at a Smash 4 tournament and place great.
Like, I was getting first and second at locals in Chicago, and I got 25th place at Smash and Splash 1. Fun fact.
Does
Yeah.
that really count as like
Wow.
being?
Top 32.
I'm not saying like you're not good. I'm like you're like more taking advantage of the situation, rather than.
I mean, he was
Well,
better
that
than everyone
means-
else.
I was
Yeah.
better than most other people in the area. Like,
Can't deny the result.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
getting top placements at locals
Yeah. Okay.
For a time.
for about a year after Smash 4 came out.
Really?
And then people started getting good at the
Yeah,
game.
it took people a while to like learn how to play this game. Or that game. Not this game.
So, take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I'm not that good at this game.
You're fine.
But I'm fine at this game.
Now Julian was laying down some trying to expose you. He's like, "Are you sure you were good? Are you sure you didn't just suck?"
Y'all can't be LaRon.
Nice.
Unfortunately,
Just 0 of IIT.
Wouldn't that be dangerous?
So, the number
Oh, never
one
lost.
piece of
Not
advice to improve in Advantage, and this is going to blow you guys away, pay attention.
You know, it's funny, but that is so true.
So your character that you play, I don't care who you main, the character you play can create a similar disadvantage state over and over again for your opponent. So you could put your opponent in a similar disadvantage state repeatedly. Doesn't matter who you main, your character has that ability. Try
Facts.
and figure out what your opponent likes to do when put in that state. The way I do this is I create categories in my brain to make this easier. So I tried to list some examples that apply to most characters. Like, most characters can create these advantage states over and over again. How do people react when they're in knockdown and you run at them? That one's pretty big for me. That's something I try and figure out as soon as possible. Most commonly, they'll either get up, attack, or roll away. But, you should just put them in one... The way I have to do it, because I'm not, amazing at the game, is I put them in one of 3 or 4 boxes there. How do they get up from ledge? If you're playing Ultimate, or if you played Smash 4, you should already be aware of this. If you're not, what are you doing? Know about ledge trapping. Ledge trapping's amazing.
It's almost harder in Ultimate though.
Yeah.
Just because ledge trumping is basically not an option anymore.
Yeah. When do they use their double jump off stage? Again, I like to put people into boxes. It's not the best thing to do to put people in boxes, but it lets you learn more about your opponent. If you can, if you think of your brain as a computer, if you could them into one of 3 options, you just used 2 bits of memory rather than getting kind of they kind of like to do these things in these situations. It may be pigeonholing, but it's pigeonholing in a way that lets you
And also
Because
to note, you should very much be doing this to yourself as well.
Yeah. I talk about that in I have a section, this is the how to improve in advantage. I also have a how to improve in disadvantage, and I do say that exact same thing that Mitch just said.
Yay. You interrupted
And
my
then-
Skyrim video for similar reasons.
And then I gave one Pichu specific just so you guys can like kind of get what kind of character specific categories I like to make. How do they deal with Thunderjolt? With Pichu, it's they either jump or shield or like a couple other things. Jumping is the right answer, by the way. Like if you jump every time, then I'm gonna just hit you with an up air. But jumping is better than shielding for Thunderjolt. If you're wondering how to beat Pichu. Number 2, and this is kind of going to outline a reoccurring theme for the rest of this. And that reoccurring theme is know your character well. So number 2 is know your combos. Disadvantage can be broken. Like if you're the best player in the world, sometimes you'll guess wrong about your. If you are the most psychologically like in tune with your opponent you could possibly be, you'll still guess wrong every once in a while. So disadvantage can be broken. Punishes, as defined earlier, cannot be broken. Context can also change things. So if you are playing against someone, you've never played them before, it's the opening segment of the match, you get a grab, you're going to do a grab combo on them. You shouldn't put them in disadvantage, you should take the guaranteed damage and reset to neutral. But if you feel like you have a solid feel for their habits, you can instead decide to put them into disadvantage and use that to net more percent. So like if I feel like I know how my opponent likes to use their double jump, for example, I might forego a guaranteed grab combo in order to get them off stage and get an edge guard. Just because I feel like I can net more off, a higher percentage of the time I could net more off of putting them in disadvantage rather than taking the guaranteed combo. So context is important, but also know when you're getting a combo versus when you're getting a 50-50, essentially. Number 3, have defaults. Basically, everyone has a lizard brain in fight or flight mode during a game of Smash that wants to fight or flee. And just remember that everyone's got a lizard brain, especially when you haven't gotten a read on your opponent yet. Know that everyone has a lizard brain. You can give yourself a slight statistical advantage by covering lizard brain options. And when I say lizard brain options, I mean 2 things. Getting towards center stage and getting away from you. Those are the lizard brain options. That's what your lizard brain wants to do. So you should, if you don't know what your opponent is going to do, if you have no read on them whatsoever, cover those 2 options first. And then this one's the most obvious one, I guess. But cover multiple options if you can. If you can cover 2 or 3 potential things with one move, do that one move. And also, you might have like a 1-2 punch type of thing, especially in ledge trapping scenarios. Like, if your opponent's holding ledge, you might be able to down to full hop aerial to cover a jump. You just covered 2 options with 2 different moves, and you didn't even need to think about it. So yeah, the 4 things: pay attention, know your combos, have defaults, and cover multiple options. That's my 4 tips to improving an advantage. You guys have anything you want to add?
I mean, I have personal experience with Laurent just understanding my habits and punishing me. Like a lot of the time I would air dodge to the stage and I would get punished so hard.
Yeah, don't air dodge towards the stage.
Yeah.
Especially in
Typically.
Ultimate.
Typically, don't air dodge towards the stage. Unless you're playing Mewtwo in Smash 4, then air dodge all you want. It's the right move. Are you not air dodging right now? Why?
Well, he could be pressing A. That nair, man.
Also, if you're playing Brawl, sometimes
then
air
press
dodge
A.
towards the stage is fine.
If you're playing Brawl against someone who's been playing Smash 4, then always air dodge into the ground, because they'll try and punish you, and then you'll get a free punish on them. That's how Jake beats me every single time we play Brawl.
That is just not a true.
That's
Jake beats
partially
me every
true.
time we play Brawl because he knows I'll pick Yoshi. He can literally pick anyone in the cast and he'll be better than me.
I just want to say, Jake, that is partially true.
I believe that it is partially true, but that sounds like a John.
I mean, like, do you know how many times I've down smashed your shield? well you after you air dodge into the ground in Brawl.
Sounds like a you problem.
It is. It is a me problem.
But it's also
because
bullshit.
I think air dodgers are punishable in Brawl and they're not.
Oh. Isn't Smash 4 such a better game?
Then Brawl? No.
I wouldn't go
No.
that far.
No, Smash 4 is not a better game than Brawl.
Smash 4 is not a better game than any of them, fun fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
Man,
Actually,
so
I might
we
put
have
Smash
Ultimate?
4. I might put Smash 4 in front of 64.
Yeah, I probably would, but which one am I more likely to play again in the
I play
future?
Smash 4. Smash 4.
I mean,
Like, well, why would I bother
You're
playing
more
Smash?
likely to play 64.
Yeah, I'm probably more likely to
But
play
that's
64.
just because that's not because I dislike Smash 4. That's because Smash 4 doesn't provide a unique experience.
Exactly.
In my opinion.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Smash Ultimate just improves on everything Smash 4 did.
Yeah.
So I have like almost no reason to ever play Smash 4 again.
And the things it doesn't improve on, Brawl did better.
Yeah, that's for the most part true. So GG.
So next,
Smash 4 had the best character though. Best characters might be.
who are,
Rosalina and Luma. That's what he's talking about.
oh,
And Lucine.
His name.
got it.
Okay, stop. Lucina's better
Stop
in this
what?
game. They just changed the voice.
Yeah, and which game did she appear in first?
Fire Emblem Awakening?
No one cares about that.
What do you mean no one cares about that? Oh my god, what the heck is this? Sorry, go ahead.
Who wants to talk about how to improve in disadvantage?
I think you do.
It sounds like
You fucked up. You messed up. You got hit. You are now in a disadvantaged state.
You talk shit, you got hit.
Get out? You might be wondering.
Fun fact, the best way to do it is to mash buttons. The enemy will never see it coming.
So this first piece of advice applies to all aspects of your Smash game, and it also applies to life.
Thanks for the host, DJ Knight.
This is a beautiful piece of advice for life and for Smash. You can't improve if you don't know what you're doing wrong. I'm sure if you're like a mid-level player and you've played against a low-level player, or if you're like me and you play against your tech skill sucks in Melee and you play against someone who's grinded tech skill for like 10 hours a day for his entire life, and you like still are able to beat them, you're probably aware of this already. That person is losing to you because not because they don't know their punishes, or not because they aren't, getting enough percent off of grabs. It's because they don't know what they're doing wrong. So like when they roll in towards center stage, they're not even aware that they're not even like really aware that they're rolling in towards center stage, and you just got to forward smash. Yeah. If you don't know what you're doing wrong, you can't get better. So if you aren't aware of these, like if you aren't aware of the categories I talked about above, where like what do you do if you're on the ground, if you don't know what you like to do if you're on the ground and someone runs at you, then you probably have a habit. And a player like me who's not even that good is probably going to pick up on that.
Fun fact, you should be watching replays of your matches.
You should be watching
You
replays
should.
of your matches. Ask your local TOs to play on stream.
That's
Review
how I...
those matches.
It was watching my match against Jake after I thought I'd become a good player that I realized I'd down be a lot in neutral for no reason.
Yeah.
I realized I was actually a really bad player.
Here's a warning: watching yourself play is awful, but you should do it. Like,
Yeah, I don't
like
like it.
I watch myself play and I like want to die. It's awful.
It's very true.
Like, and then the problem is, like, the only matches I ever like watching are the ones where I did really great in. But don't watch those matches so much. Those matter a lot less. Like, you should watch them, see what you did right, but what you did wrong is a much bigger deal. But those matches are painful to watch. Very painful.
So I think, similar to what he's talking about, it's very important to separate your ego from the matches.
Yeah.
Because as he said, it feels awful because it's like, but that's just your
I-
ego talking. You
I've
want to get
watched
better.
I've watched Bushi destroying my Jigglypuff like 3 or 4 times now. It's not a fun time, but I think I learned a lot about the Snake matchup from rewatching those.
I think the matches that I've learned the most about from watching are matches where I got destroyed by people who I think I'm like at the same level or better than at. Because you will occasionally lose to someone you're like, will occasionally get like bopped by someone who's like on your level, especially when you're, still a budding player. And those matches are particularly important to watch. Like unless you like had like a, you felt like you had a really good reason for sucking or something. But even then, you should probably still watch it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're, like, dead-ass drunk and then you get bopped, well, okay. Probably not going to learn much from that one. But, I don't know where I was going with this at all. Take it away, Dan. Talk.
Also, autopilot can kill you, but it can also save you. It's really weird like that. So if you just don't know what to do, maybe just try going on autopilot and see if you magically win, but don't expect it.
Definitely expect that not to happen, but if you're getting bodied anyway, maybe try it. I guess.
I'm not sure if this is good advice, Mitch, actually.
I don't like that advice.
I'm saying, one time I went on autopilot and I kicked Jake's ass for like 4 hours straight.
Well, okay, Mitch's autopilot's actually better than his thinking. That's different, all right? Mitch is special.
Which is very special.
I don't know. I don't think that has anything to do with advantage states. I think Mitch is just... He just goes for reads and without reason.
I have a random number generator in my head. I flip. It's like he could do these options. I'm gonna weight them all equally and go for one.
Fun fact: if we're talking about tech rolls, a situation where you have to tech is going to come up very, very often when you're put into disadvantage. If you want to learn from the best, Mango literally dash dances so he doesn't know which direction he's tech rolling.
Wow. I remember there was an app that it would show Captain Falcon spiking you, and then you'd have to guess left or right. You go for another spike. Like you had like half a second to push the button and react to look at where they're going.
Yeah, you had to see like the first few frames of their tech roll.
Yeah.
That was actually pretty good.
Yeah, that was so that thing about Mango, that wasn't part of my presentation, but what do I know? Mango's way better than me.
I mean, you could always do what HBox does and just look at your opponent's controller.
That is a way to improve an advantage that I did not cover.
Yeah, that's definitely a hard route to go, but yeah, if you want to look at your opponent's controller, you might... It's a good way to make enemies, though, and it's really hard. It's probably not worth the amount of time it would take to actually get good at doing that.
Didn't John do that?
Yeah. That was different, though, because that was when he did grabs with Snake, and you do the down throw, and they get to roll left or right. That's a little easier, because you've already got the grab, so then you can look away. But
I'm more talking about...
But if you're, like, trying to read someone's tech rolls in a tech situation, that's really hard.
I'm more talking about, like, the reputation thing you brought up. Like, we all love John. And
Yeah, but John's not, like, a top-level
real
player, looking at people's controllers and getting money.
I guess. My second piece of advice to improve in disadvantage is to know that your opponent might know everything I just talked about advantage.
You're telling me other people play this game?
Yeah, other people. You're playing against a human on the other side.
What?
So, I guess the way to sum this down to like just a few words is be unexpected. If you're put in the same situation twice, don't react the same way twice.
Imagine fighting a Dark Souls boss, except the Dark Souls boss remembers how you died last time.
Also, it's really hard to break habits. Becoming aware of habits is the first step.
Yeah.
If you want to beat Saigai, I always do neutral get up from ledge.
This is true.
Speaking of habits that are hard to break.
See, when I play with new people or my other friends who, like, I always, if I ever die, I come back invincible, I always forward smash the opposite direction, and they'll always roll past me.
Yes.
If
Yeah,
they're ever- if
I
they're-
love doing that.
If they're ever on the ground, I'll run at them, dash back, and they'll do a get up attack. and
That
I'll
is
hit
the
them.
best thing to do against noobs. If you want to start just beating your friends, like you and your friends all suck at this game, just when they're standing in front of you in shield, just charge a smash the opposite direction, and they'll roll right into
They'll
it.
roll.
But it's also a really good way to get them to start thinking and realizing that there's a
Huh.
lot more than mashing buttons.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's
Um,
crazy.
So, three way. Know your character again. Know what your quickest aerial is. Know if you have a reversal, like a counter.
And your quickest
understand-
out of shield option. I'll
Know
just
your
throw that
quickest
one out
out
there.
shield option. Know your quickest aerial. Know if you have a counter or not. Like, you should know that. I know
And how good your counter is and where
yeah.
it is covered.
how it compares to an air dodge, especially.
You should also
It's important
know
to know.
how well your opponent's counters work.
That's about advantage. We're talking about disadvantage.
Okay.
Understand your movement options. Like, if you didn't even know what a neutral getup was until I started talking about it, you could just press up on the control stick. It has the best frame data of any of your getup options. Fun fact.
That was fun.
What else do I have? Oh, also know your opponent's movement options. As I have a bad example for this because it's related to Puff, and no one plays Puff. Puff has really poor vertical mobility, so it's really difficult for Puff to punish using your double jump early. Like if Puff throws you off stage, the conventional wisdom is be unpredictable with your double jump. If you're fighting against Puff, it's double jump right away. That's just like Puff can't get up there fast enough. So yeah, just know your movement options, know your opponent's movement options, and like if you're playing against a character who has a very slow run speed, a tech roll away might be really good. But if you're playing a character who has really good run speed, you might be in a situation where you just have to create a 50-50. Like, just know how fast you are. I don't know. That's kind of good to know. Also, don't get too greedy. That's my number 4 piece of advice for disadvantage. This is something I do a lot. Where like, oh, my opponent can't be that good. I'm just gonna mash Nair and then do a reversal. And then that doesn't work. And then I take like a bunch of unnecessary damage that I could have air dodged out of. So don't get too greedy. Most of the time when you're in disadvantage, your goal is to return to neutral. So don't always make your goal get a reversal. Make your goal most of the time to be to get back to neutral. The reason this is harder than, like, this is easier said than done is because reversals feel so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you play Melee Luigi, you know this. That's the reason you play Melee Luigi, is because you think reversals feel so good.
I can just press A and I just get to play
A
again.
good player, but that's also why Luigi's considered not very good. It's because good players will just, like, end their punish if they know Luigi can get an air, and then you're playing Luigi instead of a top tier. So a good player will know that you're trying to get a reversal and will punish you for being greedy. And so yeah, that's my 4 pieces of advice for improving in disadvantage. Know what you're doing wrong. Know that your opponent is a human and is trying to read you, so don't be readable. Know your character's movement options and your opponent's movement options, and don't be greedy. And I talked a lot about knowing your character, both in advantage and disadvantage. One mistake that I'll see is they don't appropriately budget their practice time according to their goals. So if you want to be like as successful as possible and go as far in the tournament as possible, and you can only play Smash a few hours a week, you get to main one character. You do not get to pick up a secondary. You do not get to pick up a co-main because knowing your character is so important, and you don't have time to learn everything about two characters. I have one like vivid memory of a Smash tournament that I went to where I played against a guy who was near my skill level. Every game he lost, he switched characters. I know that if he had a main that he played, he would have beaten me. But because he didn't know any of his characters as well as I knew my character, he lost. Now that we've talked about advantage and disadvantage a whole lot, we're gonna go Inception mode here. We're gonna go another layer deeper. We're gonna talk about conditioning. Conditioning is kind of a way to push your advantage state to the next level. And conditioning is really hard. Is basically this. That's basically the summary of like. That's all I have to say about conditioning. Is like, it's really hard. But it's important to push your advantage states to the next level. We're gonna focus on conditioning during advantage and disadvantage states, but conditioning also absolutely happens during neutral. It's just like even like as hard as it is to talk about. First of all, this discussion is about advantage and disadvantage. Second of all, talking about conditioning in the neutral is a much more nuanced discussion than talking about conditioning in advantage.
Yeah.
And
Come back in the next few months, and our boy Azu can talk about neutral.
yeah,
Self-proclaimed neutral god.
yeah,
Like,
and like we're gonna get pretty nuanced, and neutral discussions about conditioning are even more nuanced than what we're gonna talk about here. So I just want to start this off by saying conditioning is my single favorite thing. I'm not sure if you guys have had this experience where you get a feeling in your bones that you know exactly what your opponent's going to do next. And the reason you know exactly what they're going to do next is because you've been spending the entire stock meticulously and thoroughly tricking them that an air dodge or a roll in or a double jump is safe, and then you rip that away from them. You say, no, that wasn't safe. I fooled you. Ha!
I've
is
done the first half, but not the second.
Single sweetest feeling in the entire, like, it's just, that's what will often keep me playing one more game when I'm playing online. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of done for late, and then all of a sudden I'll do like a super sweet conditioning thing and like make my opponent do something. I was like, that was the coolest thing I've ever done in my entire life. I want to do that again. I'm never stopping playing. And then I play for another hour after that to try and get that feeling again, and then I don't because I'm bad at this game.
I rarely have enough focus to actually do that.
I don't really do that in friendlies against you guys because we kind of know each other. And I don't really, like, the thing I was talking about categories and stuff, I don't do that to you guys, and I don't really know why I don't do that.
Same. I don't know. I like if I'm playing in a tournament match, I'm on a completely different level of focus than when I'm playing friendlies. In friendlies,
Yeah.
I just do not give a damn about, like, so many of these things we're discussing today. I don't really have a good reason why. Probably just because it's mentally taxing.
I mean,
I'm trying
yeah,
to just chill and...
it takes a lot.
It's really mentally taxing.
Yeah. Conditioning is, like, super, super hard to do right. There is so much context and snap-second decision-making that goes into properly conditioning someone. And, like, the most basic example I can think of is to, just in Smash 4 with Rob, you do a down throw, you do an up air. At about 70 or 80%, that up air stops being guaranteed. You do the down throw and up air anyway. Then you do it again, and then the third time, you say, okay, they know that the air dodge is going to come out, so you read the air dodge and up air. And, like, that's the most general thing I could think of is to like do a hoo-ha in Smash 4, and it's still a specific thing.
I mean, is that conditioning or is that just reading habits?
No, he's saying
Like,
like it's saying
are
like
they
you
mashing
go
air
for you.
dodge?
Safe.
Yeah, he kind of said it in a strange way. I think what Dan was saying is like you go for the immediate up air multiple
Yeah.
times in a row. So then you basically train them to air dodge, but then on the last one you down throw them and then you wait for the air dodge to happen and then you
Yeah.
do your up air. So
Okay, I see.
you delay your up air in anticipation of their air dodge that you've slowly
Like-
trained them to do.
Gotcha.
Guaranteed hoo-has in Smash 4 is the most general instance of conditioning that I could think of, and it's still very specific. And I think that's kind of the point I'm trying to make is conditioning is all about these weird edge cases. And creating these weird edge cases. And you also need to intimately know your character. You need to know, okay, this is the percentages that they can start air dodging at. I'm going to go for the up air anyway to condition them, even though I know that they can air dodge. And hopefully they know that they can air dodge so that they think, oh, I messed up if they got hit by the up air, and then they air dodge next time.
Yeah, there is such a thing as giving your opponent too much respect,
Yeah.
especially online.
Also, context is really, really, really important in conditioning. And to demonstrate that, I am going to talk about one specific instance of conditioning that I do. And I can only do it because there's so much context surrounding it. I've put in literally hundreds, probably close to 1,000 hours of Smash into playing against one specific person. And my form of conditioning against him is kind of the opposite of what I just described. It's like, it's not the type of conditioning I just described. It's another specific edge case. What my friend does, and I don't want to put him on blast, so I'm not going to say any names. Jake could probably guess.
I know
what I'm
exactly.
talking about.
You
What
talked
he
about
does-
this person earlier too.
Did I?
Yeah.
What's it?
When talking about grinding tech skill.
Oh, kind of. What he does is the right thing. What I mean by the right thing is, I said earlier, neutral getup has your best frame data. So he does neutral getup. Every single right thing is what he does until you punish him for doing the right thing. Then what he does immediately after that is the second safest thing. And it's not like, oh, he punished me once for doing the right thing, I'm going to do the right thing again to see if he's picked up on that. It's the first time he punishes me for doing the right thing. The next time that situation comes up, I'm going to do the second best. So, for example, let's say I get him in a knockdown. He does a neutral get up because that has less frames than a get up attack or a roll. He's going to do the neutral get up until you punish that. And then the very next time he'll roll towards center stage because while a roll towards center stage is not great, it does give you slight stage positional advantage. That's why it's the second thing he does. So without the context of hundreds of hours, I would put him in that box of that's the wrong box to put him in. Because I have hundreds of hours of context, I can intentionally not punish neutral getup until I get him to about 60. Then on that knockdown, I punish neutral getup. Then on the knockdown after that, where he's at kill percent, I get the roll in. That's like a weird edge case of conditioning that I only know because I played against this guy for hundreds of hours.
Yeah, I think Mango said the same thing about M2K. Said M2K always goes for the best option every time, so you just do something really stupid and he's never ready for it.
Similar.
So yeah, that's like, we kind of talked about the surface level of conditioning and then a really ridiculously specific case of conditioning. And conditioning is really cool. Conditioning is really hard. Conditioning is what you need to do to take your advantage states to the next level.
See, I feel like that's
Right,
like,
thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
see, I feel like that's like two levels of the ladder of competitive play, where you're thinking about your opponent, but your opponent, and I probably don't know who this is, or this might be specific for you, but it's a certain point where you go from I'm doing this because it usually works to I'm doing this because it'll work against him.
Yeah.
Or her. Or they. Whatever.
I did say him. So you can eliminate like 50, a little bit more than 50%.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to say who it is specifically.
But you're actually only eliminating like 5% of Smash players.
Yeah, there are a lot of female Smash players.
So.
Yeah.
You're not eliminating that much. It's not Supergirl Kells.
It is.
I'm not putting
difficult to
hundreds
go
of hours
from,
against Supergirl Pals.
It is very difficult to go up that specific rung of the ladder.
I have not put in more time in the Brawl Pikachu versus Ness matchup than any other human, I'm pretty sure, against Supergirl Pals.
Hey, now you just let the cat out of the bag that it was Ness versus Pikachu. That boils it down to Pikachu mains in Brawl.
Esam?
It was Esam. Yep.
Wait, it was actually Esam?
Yeah, it was the electronic Sam.
You've played 1,000 hours against Esam? I don't believe that. Not,
Wow, you
not
don't?
for a second.
No, that's crazy. You don't believe that?
No.
Why don't you believe us?
Well, you're a compulsive liar. We've been over this.
Wow.
Dan, though, I expected better from him.
So yeah, do you guys want to talk about edge case conditioning?
Sure.
Jake, what do you have
like
to say
12
about
minutes.
me specifically that I can fix?
About you specifically? In which game? You have different habits in different games.
Like air dodging into the ground.
That's a good habit that you have in Brawl.
I can talk about one where I'm not sure if this was Jake conditioning me or Jake being an asshole, or probably both. But I was playing against him in Ultimate not too long ago, and he's like, "Yeah, you know, Mitch, whenever you always roll away from me, so whenever I want to get a kill, I'll just punish that." And then the next time I got into a tech situation, I rolled towards him and he killed me.
That's the next level of conditioning that can like only happen in friendlies. But that's a great example of conditioning, Mitch. Thank you.
That's
a great
metagame
example
conditioning.
How diverse of an umbrella conditioning is.
Telling your opponent what they did wrong and then punishing them for
I don't
doing
even
your
know if that's
suggestion.
something I did. I just made that up.
See, yeah, that's the best thing. You don't even really know if I was.
That's like psychological warfare.
That is something I would actually do in Brawl a lot. Like in friendlies, I would tell people that they had a habit that they didn't have, or that I saw them do like once or twice, and I'm like, "Oh, you're doing that a lot," and they're like, "Oh shit, thanks."
You're evil.
I swear I honestly didn't do it on purpose. Like I just didn't do it I did it without thinking too much about it. Like I would just be like, "Oh, I saw them do that twice in a row. I'll let them know." But like that doesn't necessarily mean they had a habit of it. If they just happened to do it twice in a row. And then like 100% of the time they're not going to do that option. I just called them out on. So I was just like eliminated an option.
One time
That's why they should ban coaching.
One
Right.
time I was playing on Anther's Ladder, and this guy would tech in place every single time. And then I told him about it afterwards, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I learned how to tech 2 days ago. I didn't know. I'm just like figuring out that there are other things to do." I was like, "What? Why are you on like Anther's Ladder?"
That
I
is
learned how to
interesting that
tech
he like
2 days ago.
I like to imagine he discovered Anther's Ladder before learning what teching was, which is particularly mind-blowing because, like, how would you have discovered Anther's Ladder without having seen some competitive Smash something?
I don't know.
Or maybe he watched a bunch of competitive Smash but never touched the game? Like, got really into watching it somehow but never actually played? I can see that.
I mean,
I
it's a
just thought that was
spectator
funny.
sport.
Like, hey, you literally tech in place every single time. He's like, "Oh, that's because I just learned what teching is." And my mind was blown, and I remember it like 4 years later.
I remember one time
Did he
I
beat
was up
you?
against someone.
No. I wish he beat me. That would make that story way funnier.
It would make the story funnier. If he, like, kicked your ass. Sorry,
I don't
Mitch.
think it was.
Well, I had one story where I was on Anther's Ladder, and this has nothing to do with conditioning, but game 1, this guy ends it by spiking me off the stage, so I put a frowny face in the chat. And then game 2, I spiked him off the stage, and then he saw the frowny face, and then he quit and said, "Fuck you." Like, oh.
This isn't our video game toxicity topic, Mitch.
Mitch is a toxic gamer. You heard it here first, folks.
True.
So yeah, I sincerely want to thank you all for listening to me ramble about Advantage. I had a lot of fun talking about it.
I liked hearing your rambles. Damn, and Larone's playing an intense game of Smash right now.
I'm
He's
playing
probably-
Smash.
He's using my advice.
Implementing
He was
I
like,
saw-
"Wow, Dan
implementing
said
it
some really
in real
insightful
time.
things." He was like, "Wow, Dan said some really insightful things. I need to try this out right now."
There's no controller in my hand.
Right, so there's the process of, I mentioned this earlier with new players,
You're a
So-
liar.
you know, they roll through you when you're invincible and you smash them. There's the, you run at them and they jump, so you jump up and hit them. What are, like,
I
noob habits are there that are really easy to punish?
So the first time I thought seriously about conditioning was when I realized that if you run at someone, they roll away a lot.
Yep.
Like if they're in knockdown and you run at someone, they roll away a lot. That was the first
Yeah.
time I ever thought about advantage states. And I wasn't like, I was just like, oh, that's a thing people like to do.
And then you know what you do next? So you're playing against someone who does that all the time, right? And then you tell them that they do that. And then,
And then
the
you
next
put a
time, the next time when you run at them, you stop and you charge a down smash. And guess what happens? They never play with you again.
Are you thinking of someone specific? Or are you thinking of me?
Jake, I think you told me that story before.
Oh man.
You do that to a lot of people. Jesus.
Smash Club at IIT, man. What a time.
Yeah, that was a time to be alive.
Is that still dead? I got one email
So-
from them after I graduated. So,
I had a sad realization today.
we should do an episode on how to run a Smash Club.
This is pretty much unrelated to everything, but I want to talk about it anyway. So, we had a new coworker start yesterday, and their last name is Kirby,
Huh.
and
Like the vacuum?
I
yeah,
knew someone last name Kirby in high school.
and
it's the same
And
the
I knew
person
someone
sitting
last name
next
Kirby
to
in
me, I was like, "Huh, your last name is Kirby."
ESI.
Oh yeah. College
Uh,
shit.
I was like, I asked them for their email, and they were like, "Oh, my email's this," and I was like, "Oh, your last name's Kirby. That's kind of funny." And then the person sitting next to me is like, "Kirby's my best character in Super Smash Bros." And I realized in that moment, there's literally no cool, normal way to say, "Oh, I take a children's party game way too seriously. Would you like to hear more about that?"
Well, I mean, I feel like there is a way at like if Charles said that to you specifically, you'd be like, "Cool, tell me about neutral." But
Yeah.
if
So-
someone interjects into your conversation to say that at an office setting, of course not.
So, my coworkers talked about Smash, and I didn't get to bring up the fact that I would destroy their souls in that game.
See,
I
that
have
just that has not stopped me in the past.
I have a friend who, at his
Their last
office,
name-
they hooked up a Wii U or a Switch or something to play Smash, and they thought my friend was a god at the game because he had the qualification of holding a controller once before in his life.
I don't think you understand. My coworker's last name is Kirby, and they don't know that I play competitive Smash yet. They've been there for 2 whole days.
I'm sure it'll come up at some point in time, Dan.
Yeah.
Don't you worry. Which, funny enough, both of my coworkers who play Smash Brothers both main Kirby. So how about that?
The one other real life Smash player I know, one, he plays Falco and he's black, so apparently that's very correlated. 2, he hates HBox and will tell you about this every chance he gets.
It sounds like a Falco player.
Yeah.
Let's see, what was the third one? Right, he's an incel. Right, that was it.
Oh,
No, it's not really related. No, it's not really related to the other.
okay.
You guys
Well,
wanna hear-
he made one offhanded topic about one of my other friends is really muscular, and he said it's like, you are the reason why women don't pick up nerds, because when they think of nerds, they think of you. So we don't let them live that down.
Okay then.
You guys want to hear my real quick 2 cents about casual Smash players and the characters they play?
Okay.
The ones who are bad and know that they're bad, main Kirby. The ones
Facts.
who are bad and think they're good, and this is just from my
Main
personal
Ness.
experience, main Lucas.
I was almost there. I was so close.
We're almost there.
Nest is always
Because
the one that needs.
they think
That's the
they're
wrong
good.
one.
They
Yeah,
think
no, you're. It's for the same reason, and I think Ness also falls in this category. It's because the recovery is really hard for a casual to do.
Yep.
And they think because they've figured out how to use the recovery, they're really good at the game.
But they picked the wrong kid.
This was just like, this happened like 2 or 3 times. And like, I feel like at 2 or 3 times when I run into a casual who thinks they're really good and they main Lucas, like that's a pattern, right?
Do they know how to tether?
No, they're
No.
casuals.
see
Oh,
actually all
You
the
should
casuals.
teach them to press Z.
Man, I've never played a character with a tether, and then Smash fucking 5 comes out, and Luigi's got a tether, and now I keep tethering instead of naring.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah, they're out of shield's hard.
Yeah, it's hard life. I don't know. In my experience, most of the people who like think they're good but they're not actually good play Marth. That's the one I see the most.
In
Interesting.
Melee, maybe.
Yeah.
No, not in Melee. I was actually specifically thinking of Brawl.
Oh,
Interesting. See, for
I
me,
guess
it was
Well, that's a
Lucas.
good pick.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you referring to someone?
Referring
with
to
the-
No, I'm not. I'm not referring to. I don't think I'm referring to. Oh wait, no wait. Who are you?
Starts with a J.
Jay.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, of course not. But I think that's all. I think we've talked Smash enough for the day. So I'm gonna move
Yeah,
on.
To play.
It was a joke,
That means
James, if-
once you've played it, it's free.
If you ever
Now
hear
we're
the
gonna
James,
talk.
it was a joke. It was a joke.
We're
Wow.
gonna talk about Half-Life 3 now.
Not coming out
Okay.
ever. It's gonna be VR.
And when I say Half-Life 3, I of course mean
Gabe Newell himself, and yeah, this is so
yes.
Gabe Newell, and this is. I'm sorry for those who are
Gabe
listening
Watch.
audio only because you're not really gonna be able to appreciate this. But Gabe Newell showed up as a model on a pair of underwear in China.
That's hot.
It is
please tell me they used a better
absolutely.
picture. Please tell me they used a better picture.
No, they didn't. That was a picture they used for.
That is
Oh,
truly amazing picture of Gabe Newell. But the best part, I think, of all of this is if you notice above large brief there is some words in Japanese, which translate directly to extra large fat man pants.
this is amazing.
Why Gabe Newell?
I just like it's a picture of Gabe Newell with him spreading his legs. I don't know. It's
All right.
They hooked up. Iconic big man from America, I guess, and that's what they got. Oh man, it is.
That's me like.
Well, I'm
More-
glad that I don't have to follow that up. Because I don't think I could follow that.
well, you know what can follow that up? Shenmue Watch. What do we got this week?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Nothing. That's why we didn't do it.
Oh, okay. Well, nothing can follow it up then.
Shenmue 3 new.
Shenmue 3, as far as we can tell, is still releasing at the time they said it was releasing.
Well,
When I
anyway,
typed, before we go, when I typed Shenmue 3 in Google, the first article says Shenmue 3 trailer looks like a real game.
High praise
That's,
from the
yeah.
gaming community.
We might be getting a real game, guys.
Yeah.
So that's all we got for you guys this week. Tune in next week where we will be talking about a very serious game review, as we always do on the second Thursday of the month. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be our biggest, most ambitious project yet. Highly recommend you all tune in. We cannot wait to show you what we have in store.
Wait, you're not talking. Oh, you're talking about book club. Oh, okay, I thought you were talking about my thing.
I'm talking about book club,
nowhere
but
near.
for
Yeah.
games.
I feel like this is a loaded question, but what game did we pick?
We will talk about that next week.
Find
Can't-
out next week.
Can't talk about anything unless DJ Knight leaks it on Twitter. Follow his Twitter just in case. At DJ Knight 31. He might leak what we're doing.
That was the answer I feared.
Yeah,
have a good day, everyone.
Yeah, have everyone have yourselves a
Yeah,
good
I say
night.
we-
Shout
I
outs
say
to
we
our
play-
sponsors this
I say
week.
we pick up Uno and just have a game of that.
So shout out to our sponsors, Long Dean Underwear.
And look forward to my Borderlands 2 How to Fix coming in the future months.
Yeah, look forward to that too, I guess.
I've